Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Ed Arnold and I'm Vice President of Products here at LeveragePoint. I'd like to welcome all of you to another one of our monthly webinars of thought leadership in value-based strategy. Sponsored by LeveragePoint. LeveragePoint provides the only software solution for value-based pricing. We offer a SaaS-based collaboration platform that links all cross-functional team members involved in building and executing a value-based strategy that changes the way companies create, communicate, and capture value. Find out more about us from our website, leveragepoint.com. Now, during the webinar, if you have any specific questions or comments, you can enter those into the right-hand panel in the questions section. And then at the end of the presentation, we'll respond to as many of them as we can. Also, a reminder to complete our quick survey upon exiting today's webinar. If you do that, you'll be entered into our raffle to win a copy of the book, The ROI of Pricing. Now it's time for me to introduce today's speaker. We are delighted to have with us today, presenting from France, Laurent Gambier from Schneider Electric, where he's currently Pricing Director and Value Transformation Leader for the IT business unit. In that role, Laurent has managed multiple pricing initiatives to reduce discounting and improve margins. And part of what he'll be talking about today are his experiences in that work. Previous to Schneider, Laurent worked in a number of large B2B organizations in pricing and purchasing functions. He's a past speaker at the Professional Pricing Society and has an MBA in finance from the Grenoble Graduate School of Business in France, which, by the way, is a very lovely city in the French Alps. So with that, welcome, Laurent. Glad to have you with us today.
Yeah, thanks, Ed, for this intro, and thanks to our partner LeveragePoint for offering Schneider Electric ITB the chance to exchange on its value pricing experience and how we ITB started embedding value pricing into our new offers. So by offers, meaning products, solution, and services. So hello, everyone. Thanks a lot for your time and interest. I'm pleased to observe how numerous you are and how increasingly, I would say, popular value-based pricing has been getting over time. So being here today talking about value-based pricing is obviously not the consequence of just one person's initiative. It's really the result of a combination of multiple factors, I would say, like obviously sponsor trust, internal and external influences, various historical, empirical initiatives, successes, discussions, teams engagement that all together really help start building a real and hopefully durable momentum. So now, please let me walk through the proposed agenda for today. So what I propose is to start with giving you a brief overview of who we are as a company. Then I'll move on to highlighting the fact that value has become a real necessity in our business environment to survive. Then I'll talk about what caused me to end up doing value pricing in our IT business unit. Then I'll talk about how we gradually got to where we are in terms of getting to a real stage of initiating a transformation within the organization. I'll also highlight the fact of the endeavor that we're starting, the journey that we're starting, and we know it's going to be a long journey, but so far, it's been quite promising. I will then move on to the illustration of a price setting that referred to a value-based exercise in a real case example. I will move on to an illustration around value modeling on an existing offer. Then I'll talk about, giving you a summary of the challenges and opportunities that we've been experiencing, after 1 year of initiating the value pricing. I want to highlight that there are many page notes at the end of each slide, so I may, fly over some of those without getting into all details, but you can always refer back to the numerous page notes that bring some clarifications and insights. I'll then end with talking about what's left to achieve in our organization, because as I said, it's just the beginning of our journey. And then I'll be pleased to take the questions you might have and try to answer them. All right, so let's move on to the overview of Schneider Electric as a group. So in a few words, we are a leader in energy management. We generated in 2013 24 billion euro of revenue. About half of our revenue is done in emerging economies. We employ more than 150,000 employees, and we have a worldwide present in more than 100 countries. And about 5% of our sales is assigned to research and development. Until recently, we were organized in 5 business units: partner, infrastructure, industry, IT, buildings. The partner business unit representing, the biggest portion of our revenue, and we recently got reorganized and now are organized in still 5 business units, but whose name now is Partner Industry, Energy, IT, and Global Solutions. So we, our routes to market are, multiple. We deal with distributors, resellers, contractors, system integrators, and end users. So very multiple routes to market. And what we offer? Well, multiple products, solutions, and services. So for example, obviously starting with ITB, we offer what we call UPS, that stands for uninterruptible power supply. We ensure power continuity to critical applications. We also provide cooling systems, software, circuit breakers, inverters, transformers, talking here about the entire panel of what the group provides, automation systems, smart infrastructures, and all the services, preventive maintenance, predictive maintenance, energy management services that go with it, okay? All right. Okay, so it's important to remind that value has become more and more a necessity, a requirement to what I would call our survival. And I would like to start with a recent quote that our Chief Marketing Officer, Chris Hummel, pronounced relative to a presentation around brand management. And he said, articulating why is more valuable than what. And I think that this statement ties up pretty well to the value-based pricing concept, right? It's not enough to say, I'm more efficient, or my footprint is better, or we need now to explain, why it makes sense for that differentiation, why it makes sense to my customer to benefit from that differentiation, and how much worth it is for my customer. So I already consider that we're pretty much in line with our view on the way we should manage our brand. Obviously, in order to remain, I would say, competitive and credible, we need to do value. Value-based pricing has become increasingly common practice across the organizations. We're facing more and more global players providing different offers, and we just can't get behind, right? We have stories to tell, and we must provide our sales force with tools to help tell those stories and convert more business. So really, value is really the direction we need to keep going. Within the organization, we are, as you can see, a very large organization, and obviously, our pricing maturity or resources or ownership varies, from one business unit to another. So we have different stages of development relative to that value-based pricing, installation. But what's important to mention is that it's now become, value pricing has now become a general movement within the organization, and all business units of Schneider Electric now are taking that direction. Important to mention that cloud solutions, cloud platforms like the one LeveragePoint is providing to us is key to scale and speed up development. It is key because that's probably one of the only ways to allow for an effective structuring and standardization of the thought process of value pricing approach. It provides efficient centralization of the information, efficient sharing capacities of the information, easy duplication, easy updating of all the information that we use to build models and tell stories. Last but not the least, obviously, success metrics are key to contribute to building the momentum. We don't do value pricing just for the sake of the intellectual exercise, obviously. We do it to improve our business performance and better serve, through better serving our customers. So, estimating, quantifying the impact, the contribution of the approach is crucial for the success and for durable adoption. All right. So what caused me to end up in value-based pricing? Well, primarily two things. I'm sure that the first quote sounds familiar to you. I guess it's the one that says we are too expensive. So that very famous quote that many populations tend to repeat every day. Salesforce, business development. I mean, a lot of people come up with that quote. So that was one of the triggers to my switching to value pricing. And the other one is the common practice around cost plus as being the most common methodology to price. At least talking about ITB. So those two things caused me to feel like taking a step back. And I decided to start, documenting things more, trying to, put price in perspective of, all the other dimensions. Price alone is just a monodimensional consideration. It's pretty meaningless if not put in perspective of other things, values, features, perceptions, etc. And obviously the envy to bring customer back at the center of the thought process. Way too expensive, cost plus approach, to me, tend to sometimes, forget, that the customer is, at the center of our considerations. And these were really the triggers to, starting bringing my modest contribution to initiating value pricing in ITB. So obviously, value-based pricing didn't happen overnight. Of course, we adopted a gradual approach to it. So we started a few years ago through organizing workshops with central teams and countries to build what I would call value price mappings. Actually, I should have replaced the word value by features, because at the time we didn't get into the step of monetizing the economic impact of our differentiation. It was about positioning price relatively to all the features that we would consider would be important in the decision-making process of my customer. So it could be technical features. It could be related to to supply chain features, to commercial organization features. I mean, anything that could potentially create a difference. And we started, assigning some rankings and weights based on our own perception to start, putting things a bit in perspective, especially price. So that was the first step to it. I want to mention that value pricing actually is not really new in the sense that what's new is the intent we're taking to start, systemizing the approach across, most of our offers. But, back 12 years ago already, we developed a real, innovative technology whose pricing had been supported at the time by, a total cost of ownership approach. So in that respect, we can't say that value pricing is really new in our business unit. It's just that now we're working on institutionalizing more across most of our offers. So the real, I would say, adventure started with the proof of concept, the pilot project that we conducted in the second half of last year. So the proof of concept, lasts for 6 months, and for that proof of concept, we selected offers according to very specific criteria. So first of all, I would say that we wanted to hopefully show fairly rapid results. Okay, so there was no way we could have picked an offer whose development would have been 5 years ahead, and so the idea was really to show rapid results. It was also to draw attention. So we managed to pick visible offers, high runner offers that would really contribute to drawing attention if indeed successful. So the intent was really to build, the momentum based on a resonating scope. Obviously, we picked offers for which we could see that there was sufficient differentiation to really illustrate, I would say, the mindset of the value modeling and value pricing principles. It turned out that this pilot was, quite successful, and as a result, we got the sign-off by the ITB XCOM in July of this year to go for a broad deployment of the value pricing principles, and on that occasion, the XCOM granted the creation of a dedicated role, which is the role that I'm holding now, to a company to drive this change within the organization. So we started with general trainings to what I would call lines of business, or offer management teams and business development teams. Those trainings were actually the opportunity to not necessarily get into a lot of details, but really the opportunity to officialize, to kick off the beginning of the deployment. In the continuity of this, we updated some of our processes, and we'll get to a bit more details later on, to help institutionalize. Obviously, processes don't drive the change, but they certainly help support the initiative, and it helps systemize the consideration of value pricing in our new offers. And then what we've been doing, since then is basically to gradually deploy using new offers, but also existing offers for which we think that there is room for improvement, whether it is about price repositioning, whether it is about sharpening of the message. But in all cases, picking visible offers to really continue building the momentum. And this obviously is being done through individual coaching sessions. So very supported by a strong project management discipline. All right, so let's move on to the next one. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so important to highlight that, as I previously mentioned, that this is the beginning of a journey. So there's no intention to turn around everything. And by the way, it would not make sense simply because depending on the offers, on the maturity of the various teams, value pricing or the value approach can be partially already adopted, implemented. So it's about listening and finding a way to complement what has been already done to as part of a continuous improvement cycle. So we're still at the stage of getting the offer managers adherence. Offer managers are the price owners, so definitely offer managers are the primary target to drive adoption before looking after the other populations like sales force, for instance. I mentioned the fact of having updated the processes. So OCP stands for Offer Creation Process. So we wanted to make sure that as part of this offer creation process, we would systemize the consideration of value pricing relevance. So in other words, we don't force value pricing. We just ensure that for every single new offer, whether it is a product, a service, or a solution, we align together with the teams, with the program leader, with the offer manager, myself as well, to evaluate the relevance of value pricing, based on things such as the differentiation intention that we have for that given offer. And if it makes sense, then the teams get committed to getting into the value modeling and value pricing exercise. If not, we move on to something else. And we use also a database to make sure that we have a way to flag the progress of the value pricing approach. So once it is decided that value pricing makes sense, then we make sure that it's taken all the way through. All right. And going forward, obviously, we want to make value pricing part of what we call the OIP, which stands for Offer Introduction Process, and especially part of one step that we call the How to Sell Against, which is about explaining our differentiation. So definitely, we want to take the outputs of the value modeling exercise to make it part of the value proposition to be used by our sales force. So this is just a few, illustrations. So starting with one about a price that the team set using the value pricing approach. So just to make a long story short, in purple you would see what we call the cost plus price. So this would have been the price at which the team, the offer manager, would have set the price of that product without going through the value pricing approach. Then we started documenting the NBCA price, which stands for Next Best Competitive Alternative. So this is the first real step of the process, is getting that competitive price information, which was a real exercise in itself. So on that occasion, and assuming that our product would have been exactly the same as competition, we could see that we would have missed an opportunity to basically generate more money for an equal offer. And the interesting thing is that the team started quantifying the different values. So the blocks here represent the positive differentiation, and I mentioned cost because Most of that differentiation had to do with cost-saving opportunities for the customer. And at the end, we ended up with quite a significant differentiation value that really helped tell the story. We didn't have to be shy about that differentiation, and this is what we captured actually through what we call the price is price, which is basically the final start price level that we implemented in our system, and that we have been selling our product at. To give another of magnitude, the percentage of gap between the traditional approach, cost plus, and the value-based approach amounted to a 2-digit number. So it was significant, and so far the market has been accepting it. We continuously monitor the discount levels in particular, and the market has been accepting it. So really highlights the opportunity we would have missed without the approach. Another example of a existing offer that is an innovative offer, and that we are here comparing to a traditional offer. So same principle, starting quantifying the differentiation values. Some of them having to do with cost-saving opportunity for the customer, and some other having to do with incremental revenue opportunities for the customer. And when you see here in purple is actually the price at which the offer was proposed to the customer prior to doing the exercise. So obviously it is too late to kind of reverse the process now for that offer, but it's a very important and compelling example to illustrate the potential going forward of using that approach when it comes to pricing and articulating our difference. All right, so I won't go through the details of this slide, and by the way, it is supported by a lot more of page notes. But this is just a brief summary of the key challenges and opportunities that we've been encountering over the past year of real beginning of deployment. So we may start with the challenges. So challenges can be, literature. There is still limited literature on the actual, benefits of value pricing. There is some literature, and some of them, mention the potential of improvement in terms of, operating profit up to like 25%, for instance. But still, I think that literature is still to be built, right? The word, value pricing is a bit self-reductive. Internally, when you mention value pricing, people hear pricing. They confine into pricing. Eventually, they hear value, but still the word value remains relatively vague. They don't necessarily associate it to the actual, quantification of the economic impact for the customer. So maybe something to think about here in terms of, what alternative or, complementary wording we could use to help promote internally. The span obviously is a significant challenge. Value pricing is to be associated with value selling, and basically the whole chain from offer innovation down to selling to customers has to be consistent. You can't price based on value and build your value proposition based on value, and then sell on price or based on competition-driven approaches. So it's a large population to educate. It takes time, but we're going gradually. Obviously, traditions. This is obviously about change management in most cases. Secondary, it is not always the key priority, right? It's frequently pushed back into the background. So people start working on it, and then stop working on it because there is that day-to-day priority that they have to take care of. So that's something that we've learned. The need to be flexible and patient. Time constant. Indeed, it may take several years for a new offer to be developed. So obviously, you've got to pick those offers that you'll be able to show, a quick benefit when doing value pricing. And this is something to have in mind. Measurement, it's a big one. How to measure the actual contribution of value-based pricing. So many parameters, so many factors, can influence, your business performance. So this is also something that is a challenge. Plus, a few other ones that I won't get into the details of. I realize we're running short of time. So different, tips, opportunities that, we listed. I would encourage you to refer to the page notes again that bring, pretty detailed insights to it. Definitely, sponsors, top level management sponsors, competing proofs of concept, picking the right champions, getting the right tools to really, structure the thought process, creating a movement within your organization, not being the only one to do it, but try to, bring other guys around along with the initiative is key, and ensuring that there is continuous visibility of the project. So don't hesitate to, over-communicate in writing, but also verbally to the right, stakeholders and sponsors. So move on to. Okay, so I will end up with that slide, which is called "What's Left to Achieve in IT Business." Well, I would say, is my value pricing transformation role in ITB obsolete? I would say not quite, even though this is my ultimate goal, right? Is to work on the obsolescence of my role once I've managed to get adherence from most of the stakeholders, but that's a long journey, so it's far from being obsolete, I think. So despite the promising start of the initiative, I think there's still that sustainable, durable, and broad adoption to get from all the teams. Obviously, the Salesforce adoption is key, right? And this is, I think, a program in itself. Again, the population is large. So what we're going to be starting doing is go to, a few sales teams to start educating and also, getting feedback and hopefully, get those guys to help relay the benefit of the approach. And we'll see going forward how we handle that larger education to Salesforce. Success metrics. There can be soft metrics like the ramp up in terms of number of value models created, for instance. There can be also how many the proportion of value models that were actually used in our how to sales documentation. Satisfaction indexes from offer managers, Salesforce, BDM can also be ones. Obviously, financial metrics. We could compare, for instance, value pricing output to a traditional cost plus methodology, like I just talked about. Making sure that we monitor the discounting, right? Making sure that we can really justify our premium and that a price level that would be I would say revised up as a result of the value pricing initiative. Don't get neutralized by a discounting spike. So we make sure that the market accepts that price level. And growth is a big question mark. What is the actual contribution of the value setting to our growth performance? Sometimes difficult to segregate multiple contributions, but something to keep thinking about and trying to track. And obviously, going forward, making sure in ITB, because other business units like partner business units have been implementing it, that we're able to factor in the value approach upstream in a new product in pre-development, so that it helps with the selection of new features, of innovations, after having made sure that those particular features, innovations will make sense for the customer, and that they will, help really, improve my customers, financial performance, by doing so, improving ours. All right, so I'm done with the presentation. I'm a bit behind time. Sorry about that, and I will hand it over now to LeveragePoint for the questions you might have. Thanks for your listening.
All right, thank you so much, Laurent. That was excellent. Very grateful that you shared a couple real-world illustrations, and that's really valuable that you shared that, and I hope the participants gained from that. Now, we do have some questions that came in during the webinar, and by the way, for those who are still on, you can still put your question on the list if you go to the questions panel. But I just want to take a moment now to illustrate how companies use the LeveragePoint platform to execute a value-based strategy along the lines that Laurent has just described. So usually our customers apply our platform on the innovation side first. So even early stage ideation products, it's used and then moved through the subsequent stages in the stage gate up through product launch. Then after the product launch, our customers use LeveragePoint to develop customized marketing and sales content that helps salespeople to effectively communicate that value through multiple phases of their value selling process. And having a platform breaks down the functional silos that you see below that often derail effective strategy execution. And then further, the technology embeds best practices which lead to better decisions and actions among multiple dimensions, from product decisions to sales performance decisions as well, all of which leads to the whole point of value-based strategy, as Laurent points out, which is higher margins for your business. All right, so let's get back to work here on the questions. And so the first one that's come in, Laurent, is, can you tell us a bit about how your team determines what the next best competitive alternative is?
Okay, so actually this is, one of the strong advantages of, such an approach is that, the input comes from the teams. So as a pricing organization, obviously, we don't, impose anything, if I can put it that way. So I would say that the information related to the market is expected to come from the offer managers that are in continuous contact with the business development organizations, with the country marketing teams that directly contribute to feeding them with market insights. And there is also the consideration of I would say technical specifications that our marketing teams look up and are able to really compare against our own existing offers or future ambitions in terms of innovation. So hope I
yeah, no, that was a great answer, and I think it speaks to the advantages of having collaboration. So it's not as if some pricing manager is deciding what the next best competitive alternative is. You really want to get that input from from sales, from customer service, etc., to find out who the real best competitive alternative is, because sometimes it's not who you think, right?
Exactly.
I'm sure you've run into that situation before, haven't you, Laurent?
Yes, indeed. I mean, sometimes it is a challenge for some of our offer managers to know by market who our competitors are. So they may know it in some markets, in some others, they have really to refer back to inputs coming from the field, from the sales force, from the marketing teams in the countries to really clarify what the local competition may be. Thinking particularly about some eventual local players that obviously countries are in the best position to really I would say document about.
Right, that's right. I do know that about Schneider, that you look at it on a country-to-country basis. And great. So another question that came in, this one I can answer. There was a question about getting the materials from this webinar, which we will provide, the slides, the notes, the recording, so you'll get all of that. So look for that.
Yep.
Next question is, you talk about new products, but can you talk a little bit about using value with existing products? How do you decide which products to focus on?
Okay, yeah, good question. So indeed, we've been working on a new product, but also existing products. First of all, back to the proof of concept I mentioned, we had to pick, offers whose, release to sales was not too far ahead, right? So it would have been either new offers or, for instance, existing products that were just released to sales. So obviously, when it's already released to sales, it makes it more of a challenge to eventually modify things. But I think that's also a good opportunity, first of all, to in some cases simply update competition information. We realize that for some of them, the market are moving quite fast, and in some cases we eventually have limited competition information. Some products, some services are definitely more of a challenge to get this kind of information. So picking value modeling as the opportunity to update our knowledge on competition, is a great opportunity. And it's also the opportunity, going through the value modeling, exercise to either, validate a price level and a communication that is already in place, but to eventually adjust, prices or to sharpen some communications. Let me get to a quote by a project manager that that was involved in our proof of concept, and that product manager wrote, "The project structure led us to insightful questions and investigations which were not otherwise obvious. This process aided proper weighting to either to vague notions of competitor strength and weakness, which have fed a new product language packed with meaning." And I find this quote quite compelling, and it really well illustrates the intention of the value modeling approach. That quote was pronounced as part of an exercise that was done on an existing offer, and this is really what it helped with, not so much in terms of price repositioning, even though the opportunity was taken to reposition the price up because we had a stronger story to tell, after having gone through the exercise. And this is exactly what that product manager is saying.
Yeah, and I've seen this at other customers as well, especially if you have a product that has a multi-year lifespan, to look at the competitive threats, especially if it's a strategic product, is time well spent. Yep. Another question that just came in, are there any particular industries in which the value pricing model has been particularly well received? So I guess from your perspective, Laurent, you sell into a lot of different verticals.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you see this being most effective?
It's, to be honest, we haven't got to a stage where we got into, analyzing the effectiveness, by vertical or industry, right? We're still at a stage of, ensuring that, those prices that were set as a result of the value modeling approach, together with the communication associated to it, are generally speaking adopted by a market like, in North America, for instance, or in EMEA. We haven't, but it's a very fair question. We haven't got to a stage of, analyzing the impact and the perception, the reception by industry. Let's keep in mind that this is still very new, right? The pilot was conducted in the second semester of last year, but really when it comes to that new visible offer that I previously mentioned, the release to sell is just back, a few months, right? So it's still very fresh, but that's definitely a very fair question, and I would say an approach we should take in terms of understanding, which are those industries that are more receptive than others. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can add a quick response to that as well. What we found is that, this value-based pricing approach has been used for 25 years. I mean, ever since the first edition of the Strategy and Tactics of Pricing book came out. And, the industries that are most familiar with this methodology are in specialty chemicals and materials, in industrial component manufacturers who sell into large OEMs. Those are two industries that for years have been using this approach, and now it's becoming more and more mainstream. So I think I'll offer that as well as an answer.
Okay.
All right. Another question is more on the change management aspect of it, because it seems like you've had to deal with a lot of challenges internally to get this running, and a lot of hard work with you and your colleagues, Laurent. So how do you get the executive support for an initiative like this, and what are some of the challenges that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis?
Okay, yeah, good question. So I would say that, value pricing really fits with, Schneider Electric's continuous customer centricity obsession, right? So it really, wants to, understand, what matters to our customers, what kind of problems I can solve that, the rest of the market can solve, and what, and if solved, what will be the actual economic impact for my customers. So really in line with that, customer-centric mindset that our organization has. So definitely that helped. Also, the reference to literature, even though limited, helped, speed up, I would say, the adoption and sign off for a broad deployment, right? So definitely, concrete numbers, even though limited in terms of I would say, literature, still, contributed a lot to, speeding up the adoption process. I would say, generally speaking, also the executive management support to new initiatives, trying to do things differently to get different results, right? So definitely, value pricing, would fall in that scope. Definitely, the proof of concept, the fact of getting to concrete positive results and having had the opportunity to implement the results of the exercise into our pricing systems and communication documentation played a significant role in obtaining the final sign-off by the management. Okay, and last but not the least, as I previously mentioned, value-based pricing is becoming a general movement within the organization. So there was that critical mass that other business units, especially the partner business unit, who played a crucial role in contributing, leading the effort, definitely contributed to getting ITB and the other business units into going the same direction. So I would say those 5 or 6 items I mentioned contributed to it.
All right, great, Laurent. I think we're wrapping up now. So thanks everyone for those questions. I just want to make an announcement about our upcoming webinar. So the next one is on November 11th. We'll be having Chris Provines, who's a healthcare industry expert and pricing expert, talking about value selling in the healthcare buying process. So for those folks who sell into that industry, I think you would find that very informative. And then the next week, we'll have George Cressman, noted pricing expert in the chemicals industry, talking about how to transform commodity products into value offerings. So look for an email with details about that soon. So thanks everyone, and I want to thank Laurent one last time for his generous time. Thank you, Laurent.
Thanks, Ed, for the opportunity. I do appreciate it. Thanks everyone for your listening and questions.
All right, and don't forget to complete that short survey as you exit, and we'll see you next time.